have other meanings, things that can go on. When you are doing a review game, you are finding out if the Bible teacher was clear. Now, that doesn't mean the Bible teacher was bad, but kids understand based on their experiences. You know, you can say to a child, pray to God like you talk to your dad, and they look at you and go, what dad? Okay? So they understand based on their experiences. So you want to understand whether they understand the topic, whether it got through. So when you ask a review question, you are going to get to the right answer. That is your job. You ask the question, you ask around the question, you ask the other question, you ask the person next to him, but eventually you want to get where you have made the answer. And don't be afraid to rephrase it or even to give a little 3-sentence clarification, because the idea of the review game is to make sure that the children understand the concepts. Okay? So therefore the review game needs to have another mechanism to handle who won and who didn't win. Okay? Some of you are maybe non-competitive. I'm not sure I understand that term. But if you are, and you will have some kids, you might want to throw in some games that are less competitive. But most of your kids have a competitive bone in them. They might not be the one that's critical, but they do. And by allowing them, that you've given them an activity, you've allowed them to do something where you can give them approval and acceptance and love. Maybe that's the only thing they've done all week where anybody said anything good about them. Okay, so there are a lot of ways that you grow your child through the review games, or any game. Okay, when you're doing a review game, it is not the thing you run into club and do at the last minute. I have had my game person run in and say, did you bring the questions with you? Oh, is that question, is it a PowerPoint game today? No, you still need to plan. Now, maybe it's not the same planning, but you need to plan. This is the tech person speaking. You do not need to play every PowerPoint game in the curriculum. Okay? Some of them are awesome, and I go for it. And if it's a rush day or the game person got sick, you know, maybe it's the day. But do not be afraid to bring your items that you're going to play a real touchy-feely game and set them up in front of the room. And you're going to have all the kids during club going, Miss Donna, what's that for? You have to wait and see. Okay, build the enthusiasm, build the want to play. Okay, do not be afraid to say, today we're not using the PowerPoint, let's just move on. Okay, I think that we can, that little basketball that gets thrown in that little hoop on the PowerPoint, you know, it never really hits I mean, I had to watch it 3 times to figure out when it counted as in and when it didn't. Okay, so don't be afraid to use that. Lauren and I are going to show you some ideas here in a second. Make sure that you have enough people in your group that you assign a leader. Jesse, you take this side. Jenny, you take this side. I'm the leader, but you should not be doing games 9 times out of 10 by yourself. Okay, if you end up in my next class, I'm going to talk to you some more about, we train kids. Many of you have been or are still parents. I mean, I'm still a parent even though I don't do the same parenting. Okay, we raised our kids by showing them how to live the life of Christ step by step. Now, did we have talks? Yes, Lauren used to come in and we'd sit on the end of the bed. I still don't know what the end of the bed had to do with it, but it was an exciting place, and we would have these long talks. We would go places and we would have talks. But unless you're living the life, unless you're showing, it's not going to work. So Jesse needs to be showing Christ over here to his team. And when John gets a little too rowdy, he needs to be loving and showing. And he's never rowdy, I know. And I know way too well, okay? Anyway, so you need to get some more people involved so that they are helping and you are not trying to do all the crowd control and manage the game, okay? It also helps these game leaders and me. I'm going to learn a lot about my kids if I'm involved with them during game time. I had a child, and I am sorry to say, I teased him. I said, troublemaker? We're just going to nickname you the troublemaker, okay? And it was a joke, and he took it as a joke until one day I found him during games sitting down on the bench, hands in his head. He was not crying, but he was definitely distressed. Well, I called another leader to take over my group, and I went over and sat down, and I said, is there something wrong? Yes. Well, to get a boy to say yes, there's something wrong was a big deal, and I said, would you like to talk about it? Yes. So we went back to the back part of the classroom. We're in the cafeteria, so we don't have this we're always two people. So we went back and we started talking, and he just looked at me and he said, Miss Donna, I don't want to be the troublemaker anymore. Okay? And we got to go through, this child was a Christian. He told me everything. But he was in a competitive situation in his mind with his brother, who was also in class. They were very close. They were not twins, but they were very close together. And he did a lot. Oh, not all twins are bad, okay. They were very competitive, but he felt like the inferior one. And he was doing things to try to make people like him more like they liked his brother. And so there are some things that you can do because we played games. Okay? Don't be afraid also to divide siblings. I don't care if they are twins. You know, get them where they can be and say. That's why we don't even do we do sort of small groups by grade, but we sort of intermingle a little bit, because if I get too close together, I want them in separate small groups. I want them to be able to tell their leader an issue, if I can. Okay, so you want some variety in your games. You want to plan. If you need to know what to do, here are all kinds of neat, and I've spent time and I've used some of theirs, but remember that when you're asking your questions, reword it, redo something. If I say to Lauren, why did Jesus die on the cross? Well, now, she has a lot of answers, and some of them are what I'm looking for, and some of them aren't. I mean, with my intelligent child, she would probably look at me and say, because people hung him there. Well, that's a true answer, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so why did Jesus die on the cross? He died on the cross for my sins. He died because I wanted to. So make sure that comes out. If they answer the question correctly, but they don't give what you're trying to get for, sure, yes, he did that. That's a great answer. He did that because, and you get to hold. So don't be afraid of continuing that learning. Games is not just a fun time, especially the review game. Now, I know some that start the club off with the game. We've been known to actually start a little game that we can play and that people can come in on. So as the kids come, they can play until that. What is your problem when kids come to school and they've been sitting for 7 hours? And you're going to say, everybody over there and be quiet. No. God put the wiggle in. Don't try to take the wiggle out, just try to direct it, okay? One of the games that has absolutely nothing to do with anything but fun. It is 100% fun. And I don't know, I may have to get your husband to help me do this one. Can you still bend?
Yeah.
Okay. It needs cups. Okay, and you can reuse these all you want. Now, there's several games. You're going to love to carry some of these with you. But this is the cup game, and I'm going to have all my kids break into twos. And this is a game that is so short that you can have, as they come in, you pair them off and give them a cup, okay? All right, Lauren, you go.
Head, shoulders, knees, shoulders, head, cup.
And I'm not going to race for my for the cup. I'm afraid your daughter. Okay. Okay. You will get all kinds of fun. Now, your first thing you're going to say, that's dangerous. No, it's competitive. Okay. I've played this many times. I've never had anything. The only thing that ever got damaged was the cup.
Yes.
And I've had to replace some of those because they became tangled. But when you're done, you put them all back and you stick them in your bag. I'm going to tell you that I don't go to club without 3 or 4 things that I can play a game with. Okay? I've had too many times that something happened that I needed to adjust club. Okay? And if I need that done, have you ever had so many people want to be saved during club that you ended up being the only leader standing there going, okay, it's us, and what's the next thing on the agenda? I wasn't planned on doing, okay? You can always play a game and let them do what they need to do. There are a bunch of things you can do with cups. If you take cups and ping pong balls, and buy the cheap kind, you can even buy them colored, you can do whatever you want. And you can set these on the table, you can set them on the floor, and you can have the children throw at them. Okay? The other thing I'm going to really tell you is games need to have rules. God has rules. We need to teach our kids. They need to be firm. Nobody's an exception. And they need to be explainable in about 45 seconds. Okay? If you spend 2 minutes explaining your game and 2 minutes dividing your team, you now have cut your game time in half. Okay? So it needs to be something fun and easy. And you need to play your game ahead of time so you know what might happen, okay? If you throw these, you need to find out about how far you want the kid to stand. That needs to happen all before club, and every game leader's favorite, okay? You need to have this on the floor before club starts. Again, they're going to go, oh, what's that for? But you don't have to spend game time bent over trying to figure out how far back this needs to be. Okay? I don't leave home without it. If you throw this into the cup, I think this must be the one we played with last time. This is what happens to the cups during the game. But you throw them in, they can bounce out. Does it still count? That's up to you, but that's a rule. Okay, if it ends in the cup, do I get the prize? You can put marker, like Sharpie, around the edge here. Make some of them black and some of them plain, and the black one in the middle is worth more than the rest. Okay, this is another one of those games you can play at the beginning, and they just come in line and they get 2 balls and they go, and they don't even care if you keep up with the score. They just care whether they got it or not. I've set like 16 of these out, and every row has a different prize, whatever you want, okay? If you answer the question correctly, you get 2 tries. The orange ball's 5, the yellow ball's 10. So try the orange one first, okay? The kids are having fun. Same idea, only we got it on a bigger scale with my big cup. Okay, and there is nothing I'm showing you that I did not buy at the dollar store or Five Below. I spent nothing more. This one was about $2. It's a nice trash can. It can be used for a lot of things beside trash. I have a ball. Now these are gonna, dollar store loves these, especially in summer. This one's squishy. But they need to be some rules because I don't want Jim Bob to decide he wants to knock out his buddy and throw it across the room. What's going to happen if he throws this ball? There's got to be a consequence. Maybe he doesn't get to play anymore. Those are pretty tough consequences, but God's got consequences, doesn't he? Okay. I have, my little balls all have different, so again, I can throw with different amounts. I can also have more than one of these and they throw. They can go sideways and they can roll. Okay, there's all kinds of ways. These are some of my fun ones, and I'm going to play this one with Lauren. But here, you don't want to risk taking a ball to club. these all, well, they used to be $1. You might have to pay $1.25 at the dollar store now, but these were all, they're just little, I think, monkeys. Okay? And I bought 3 colors so I can make different colors, different prices, or I don't have to. Okay? I can throw it, okay, but we're a team now. She can move her basket. So if I'm not very good,
Or I'm not very good.
theoretically, I get help. Well, here's another one. I don't get any, I got to guess because I can't see. She's got to do it all. Okay? Look at all the ways. And now you don't just have one person, you have 2 people. We have done this with using water bottles, do bowling. Okay, and how many you knock over, that's how many points you get. If the ball is not rolled, it doesn't count. Okay, so when the boy comes up and he throws that one real hard, and you just, or maybe if you don't roll it, you get a negative. Okay, so there's a consequence beyond just not getting anything, because some of your girls are going to get none anyway, because they're going to like you. My fun ball. You can do a lot of things with my fun ball. I don't go to club without a stuffed animal, minimum, because there's so many things you can do with the stuffed animal, or you can do it with the ball. Okay, have anybody played the hot and cold game? The closer you get to something, the hotter you are, and you go hot, 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 cold, cold, cold. Okay, we're going to play hot and cold, only I'm going to hide this behind somebody, and my leader is going to come in. She doesn't know where it is, and you're going to say the memory verse, and you're going to whisper it for cold, and you're going to say it really loud for hot. You know how many times they're going to have to repeat that verse in order to get that leader to the little stuffed animal? Okay, so I've always got an option to how many things I can play. Y'all have been seeing you can play with 1 or 2 of these things. How many of you played that game with the clothespin and the bottle, and you had to like aim it, and you always tried to figure out where exactly your waist was? Okay. I'm seeing the older ones shake their heads, evidently. I'm giving my age away again. Okay, well, you can do that same game maybe with a penny. You can still do the clothespins. If you look hard enough, you can still find them. But you can find them with pennies. And you drop them. If you want the game harder, you make it a smaller. You want a game harder, you make it bigger. Do it with a pumpkin for for Fall Fest or whatever you're doing. If you're doing a fall party club, do it in a Santa Claus hat or some wreath or something for Christmas. There are always kind of ways you can bring the season into the game. What else do we have here? Oh, I found this at the Five Below too. If you are anti-dye, you can make your own out of a box, and you can put colors or numbers or whatever you want. But this one I can play all kinds of games with. If I take a lot of papers, like copy paper, and I write on some, who's played Candyland? It might have been a while, but okay. Candyland, y'all got Candyland? You know, you go 3 steps and you hit the ladder, and you go 3 steps and you slide back. And if you're the grandma, you never get to the end. The kids always manage. Play something like that. You've got some pieces of paper lined out, and you can take, this is one team's player and this is the other team, and whoever gets to roll, and they get to go move their team, and they get to find out whether they slide back, lose a turn, come up with some fun things, okay? If you don't want your game to be real long, because 6 is a lot then maybe you have, you can adjust your number based on how you want to do that. Maybe you do 1s and 2s and 3s, and that's all you put on here. This particular one, we let them roll, and they get this times 100. For some reason with kids, 600 is a lot more fun than 6. And 6,000, now that's really good. But it all works out, right? So, but when you throw this, It doesn't stop until, but if you touch it before it stops, you lose your turn. And you know how kids all like to get really close, and somebody throws it, and then you have them all going, trying to get away from it. That by itself is a lot of fun for a kid. Okay, don't overthink your games too. We tend to want something really wild. Well, you don't get really wild in 8 minutes. Okay, I'm sorry, but I got about 30, 45 seconds to tell you the rules, and they need to be explicit. Okay, and then I get about 15 seconds to get you into teams. So how are we going to get into teams? We got 2, 4, depending on how many you need. Obviously, boys and girls works, but that can cause its own set of problems if you're depending on the kind of game you're playing. So maybe we go 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. We can do that real fast, or I can even have one leader doing that while I'm getting. There's all kinds of stuff we can do. Okay, a 3rd grade's over here, 4th grade's over here, 5th grade's over here, 2nd grade over here. Okay, just make splitting your teams quickly. And if you're playing a party club, you may want to give them a team when they sign in. And depending on how you do your check-in, give them a team they're going to be on all day, so you don't have to keep doing the whole picking teams. Try to make your teams over ages, because you don't want all your 5th grade boys on one team, because that would really not be fair. So make them over ages and over sexes, so regardless of the game and who's good for what, it will work. Prizes. I don't recommend, except in rare cases, that we give prizes. The winning is the prize. If you are having a party club and you can have a person win, then if you want to give them something like this, then that's good. You know, something that's about $1, something you don't want to go out and get something really big. The problem with prizes is that we usually do things on a team basis, and then you're giving half the kids something, and it can get very expensive, and it really doesn't mean as much to them. It's just the idea of playing the game and winning. Okay, so don't worry about whether you have prizes or not. You can get these in all kinds of sizes and time limits. It's a wonderful way if you're playing a game to keep it moving, especially if you can get one that's about 15 seconds, or you can flip it over and that's how long they have to answer. There's no hurry up, hurry up, hurry up, 5, 4, 3. You know, you've got the same. This one I think is a minute one, and it would probably be too long for your average game, but it is a wonderful way to help keep things moving along that everybody can see, and it's this is again a dollar store. I got 3 of them for $1. Okay, so we're not looking at very real big expensive ways. Oh, the balloon games. Schools are either in favor of balloons or not, okay? Most schools are fine with balloons. Remember that you need to check if any of your students are allergic to latex. Outside of that, you're free to play games. I only know one school, and I do not know, they won't even let you in the front door with the balloon. Then I have another one that actually decorated the front foyer with the balloons. So here you go. Here's some balloon games. Put inside each balloon a point value and make the child pop the balloon. I would, if you're going to do that, provide a safety pin for the girl who doesn't want to pop the balloon so she can still pop. Now, I don't always say girl, because it always usually is a girl, but they can step on it, they can sit on it, but they can get it out. You can also have it, if you're playing the game for fun, you can also have an activity in it. What you have to do when you pop the balloon. You can actually have multiple kids doing this at the same time if you're doing it for fun, so it's not one that you just have to sit. If you're doing games for fun, I don't know how many of y'all are Awana people, but have your kids separate and get out 10 balloons and see who, in 2 minutes, who gets the most balloons on their side. The one with the least amount of balloons on their side at the end wins. And that means everybody's picking up balloons and hitting and hitting and hitting. And we usually have, in ours, we usually do not a single line, but a double line. There's sort of a no man's land here, and it stops them from smacking the other people when they're trying really hard to get the balloons crossed. You can also do that one with wads of paper. Colored paper it works really good in the winter and called a snowball fight. Okay? And you get the pink, you get the purple, and ready, set, go, and they're throwing and see who gets the most. Again, we're talking fun here. Relay races. How many people are doing relay races? Awesome. Okay, that one you need to plan out ahead. Start, finish, or go around a chair. Do something that is very definite. The old the egg on a spoon. You don't want to bring an egg because I really don't want to clean it up. How about a ping pong ball? It's even harder. But again, do these things yourself. You do not want this to be so difficult that nobody can complete it. Okay? So practice with your spoon and your ping pong ball to make sure that you can actually keep the ping pong ball on the spoon. We do not want to get there without. What other balloon games are there that we like?
Over-under.
Oh, the over-under and you can do this with a balloon or a hula hoop. Again, your hula hoops make wonderful things on the floor to aim at, and you can get the little kid ones that are smaller so they're not so easy. But the other over-under one, we're going to act like this is a balloon, and I am going to, my team has got to get this from here to the end, and I go over and she goes under. And it's got to go like that the whole way to the end. Okay, and this gets really fun when you get the 5th grade boy who's got his growth spurt, and you get the little kindergarten girl next. And they didn't think about that when they did it, and she's trying to get it. They're like, drop it. You can also do the hula hoop with the, we have to hold hands all down the line and move the hula hoop from one end to the other. Have y'all done that one? I've got to step in it and then pull it over my head and step in it, and it flips on our hands, and I've got to try to help her do the same thing. We cannot break hands. That one is a lot of fun. If you want to, that one I've seen kids do for 15 minutes. They finally get the idea and they don't want to stop. There are some other hula hoop ones, but that's one of the best ones. It doesn't work as well if you have a club that's got little ones in. If you got bigger ones, you can do the one where everybody gets in the middle, get like 5 kids in the middle, and they all grab hands with somebody else, and they've got to untangle themselves.
Human knot.
It's a human knot. They can't let their hands go. There was another one I was thinking.
You can do various versions of balloon volleyball.
Balloon volleyball.
Keep it up.
This page has got the zipper mouth. There's a new bag out. I say new, it's been out for a little while, and it is a zipper bag. And you can get it in pencil bags, different kind of bags. But it's a little animal, and the mouth is a zipper. It's a lot of fun. You all need a bag. It doesn't have to be this one. It can be a cheap one. It can be a burlap sack, I don't care. But you can do so much. One of my kids' favorite games is Zonk. Have you ever played Zonk? Okay, you put cards in the bag. And in the bag you have 100, 400, 500, 300, whatever. And you have some Zonk cards. And they can pull one out and they get the 200. Zonk is a great game. It's one you can keep in your bag with those cards in it and know that you've got it back up at any time for any review game. Okay? A lot of your repetition games for memory verse can be done with the bag. I want to pull out, say it loud, say it small. What's the one in the dinosaur tracks we're doing? I've got to repeat it and stomp like a big dinosaur, or stomp like a little dinosaur. Well, I say my verse. I'm just doing that one, so I'm working on it. But so you've got the temperature one. Do y'all remember if I'm up here, you get to say the verse really loud. If I'm here, it's normal, and if it's here, it's whisper. And at first, you do it. And you have to I always tell my kids they have to have at least 3 words on a cycle before they move on. And I do it, and then I let some of my, especially older kids, do it. And they're up here going. But the kids are repeating the verse, and everybody's having a good time. And it took absolutely no props, except my hand here. Okay? As far as memory verse games, we've got the puzzles we can do.
You can put those inside the balloons too.
You put those inside the balloons. They've got to pop the balloons and put the game together. Okay, you just added another fun element. When you're doing those I recommend you think about the size of your team. You don't want 20 kids trying to do a puzzle because you're going to get 3 doing the puzzle and everybody else watching. So maybe you need to come up with, if you've got a puzzle, what's the big deal with printing it 4 more times and having everybody in a smaller group? And then maybe you have a race. Everybody can pop your balloon and get your puzzle put together first. When you get it all put together, everybody sits still and we'll see. Again, it doesn't matter who won or who didn't. Everybody did it, but we gave the ones who wanted a competitive edge competitive. I've got about 5 minutes. We did all the stuffed animal games. The bag was one of my big ones. I forgot to say that in the last training, and it is, you can do so much with putting items in a bag. Marbles, different color marbles, different color candies, all those things you can put in a bag and have them draw out, and they have different values. It does not have to be just pieces of cardboard. Anybody got any questions? Something they have had work well? Not work well? I've had a few of those.
With the zipper bags that you get like at Clinique's free giveaway, those bags work as zipper bags?
Yes.
Okay.
The bag, that one is cute. You're going to pay $10 for it on Amazon. It's cute, but no, when you're looking at that page, it can be done with any bag. I have one at home that was just a canvas drawstring kind of bag. As long as it is solid and it has an opening big enough for a little hand, it's a good bag. And you can just pretty much carry it with you. It's one of those that I carry a bag and I carry my stuffed animal, and for a while I carried my cups because we could always throw those out and play. I have just learned that I do carry more. I have one of the pull things. I probably take more to club than I need to on any given day. In fact, I do. But I also know that it is very handy when Miss Thelma leans over and says to me, "The game leader didn't show up." Water bottles. Do y'all give the kids those little water bottles to drink? Okay, now you've got a whole game in itself. The little water bottles, make them stack them. They're going to fall. The team that has the tallest at the end of everybody can add a bottle when they get a question right. Okay, you can only do so many, and then it's going to fall, or they're going to have to come up with, they need an engineering student, okay? So, but you can play with those. You can play all kinds of knock them over games, roll them. So you can play a lot with those. That's what we did that particular day. We went and dug through the trash can and pulled out the empty water bottles and made a game out of it. And that's when I learned you need to have something in your back pocket at all times.
Can I ask on that little fuzzy ball, I don't know the name of it, is that a good thing to give to a child who is so, when you're doing the Bible story or something, and they just have to do something with their fingers, or one of those poppets?
The poppets are good. This would be good. Lauren can answer because she actually had a foster child who was that way.
So I recommend fidget toys. If you search for fidget toys on Amazon or Google or whatever, you're going to find a ton. My only recommendation is that you fidget with it first and make sure it doesn't make noise. Because like the poppets will actually pop when you do it, when you have them, and sometimes that's distracting for the other kids. This kind of thing, it doesn't make noise when you play with it. So I would recommend a fidget toy of some sort that doesn't make noise.
The other thing is, what does that child really need to do? I have 2 daughters. This one I could sit down, when I was homeschooling, I could open up the book and I could show her right in the book. I could say, sit down and listen to this story and tell me answer my questions. My second child, if I said sit down there and be, she would work so hard to sit still, she couldn't tell you a thing that you read. I gave her a whiteboard and I tell her, draw any picture you want about the story. She could answer every question. She never looked at me. She went to high school and she typed on her phone and everybody come up afterwards, did you know your kid was texting during club? Well, she would send her dad and I each, she was taking notes. She'd send us about notes. I mean, I think she was saying everything he said would be this long. She might never go back and look at them, but it gave her something to do with her fingers, and that's what she needed. So what about even a clipboard with a white piece of paper and tell them to sketch something? We had little Johnny, one of my favorite stories of all, and if we was not doing something, he was playing worm through the kids, and then we couldn't get him out. Well, he loved mechanical stuff, so we got him a dot-to-dot mechanical book, and he sat in the back every day and did his dot-to-dot, and then he would take his pencils and shade them, draw his colors, and there was not a review question he could not answer. And it wasn't until he was in 5th grade that he met Jesus. And had we taken him out of club because he was a worm, okay, some kids need, so don't be afraid if they need to move a little bit to the back, if you need to have them with a leader. Maybe you need to hand a piece of paper out to everybody. Copy paper's cheap if there's going to be a problem. But don't be afraid to give them. But I would think this would be if this is the kind of thing they need. The other thing that, beside noise, I would make sure that they have enough space between them so their friend isn't always trying to get whatever they've got, and that's a problem. Any other questions or comments?